Stephanie G. Clement, the arts editor of The Stranger. Thank you so much for being here. Founded in 2003, the Stranger Genius Awards has thus far conferred the title of genius on 56 Seattle artists and arts organizations. These 56 geniuses each got a bag of no strings attached cash in the amount of $5,000. I'd like to humbly point out that this amounts to more than $250,000 shoved into the pockets of local artists by a newspaper. It's incredible, and the art staff and the whole staff of the paper is incredibly happy and proud to be a part of it. And I want to thank Stranger publisher Tim Keck for his incredible ongoing commitment to the arts in Seattle. This summer, we served up a fresh batch of 25 Genius Award nominees. We're spending 5 Wednesday nights honoring them and exploring what's between their ears, and hopefully having a drink with them at Vito's afterward. Please come to the after party. Tonight, we peer into the minds of the music nominees. Thanks so much for being here, all of you. And to all the past Genius winners in the house, thanks for being here as well to help us determine who of tonight's amazingly talented shortlisters will receive the 2014 Genius Grant in the music category. A few more quick words of thanks. Thank you to the Space Needle for their sponsorship. Thanks to the donors who've adopted the Genius Awards signature wine, Genius Juice, as their beverage of choice, turning booze into art. If you would like to join that wonderful club, see Carrie Christie after the show. Other Genius sponsors include Alaska Airlines Visa Signature Card, Amazon Author Grants, Microsoft Research Group. Special thanks to our extremely gracious host, the Frye Art Museum. The 12th Annual Genius Awards will be at Moore Theater on October 18th. It is free. You can reserve your spot online at strangertickets.com. And now to the genius. Yeah.
Hello, everybody. I'm going to get out tonight. I'm going to step out hand here just because my clothes on the floor. We're going to watch a little bit of world screening, and then I'm going to move into an interview with one of my favorite persons in Seattle. And I don't mean that as just sheer blowing up someone's ass or something like that. I mean, it really is a fact of my life that I really admire. The person who's coming on the stage tonight and his art. And we'll have a conversation, and then I'm hoping that you'll be as in love with this person and his music and his mind as I am. Let's share the clip. So, okay, I would like to start very, very, very quickly on this fact that you did a soundtrack.
Yeah.
Right. And just give us the story behind that. I'll get into feeling, but your music already says soundtrack. Say, but I wanted to sort of like get your sort of position, how you got involved in soundtrack.
It kind of fell in my lap. I put out an album called Away With It a while ago, and the director of this film, the writer and director of this film, was given a copy of that album by his brother, who is loosely connected to me through other friends. And he contacted me and said, "Your music sounds like soundtrack music." And do you have any interest in scoring films? And I said, hell yes. Because movies are very big for me. I'm a big movie fan. Also because I have no idea how to do that. But I know how to make music. So I was like, yeah. And he gave me the film with no music, and I took the right to the cut.
What's the director's name?
Stephen Richter.
And it's filmed in Brazil.
It was filmed in Sao Paulo.
So how?
Yeah.
And you're never been there, just
No.
looking at the images
Yeah.
and feeling what people are doing on.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And so, the thing that I have to begin, I had a little conversation with Eric, and the first question I said, I just want to make, there's one thing I never asked you. Is your name really Eric Blunt? He said,
Yes.
and I said,
It's not simple.
you invented that?
No, my dad.
Your dad?
Yeah, or his dad.
I really thought it was a sort of a name for it's a great producer, musician name. Who am I?
Why didn't you?
I'm John Depp. I'm Michael Gray. Anyway, it's like, it's just like Eric Blunt is so fortunate. But it's a it is. I didn't expect it. I just thought it was invented by you because you're so good at inventing stuff. And so, so let's go back. Now that I brought up your father, Mimi, let's go back to your childhood. Let's say
Tacoma, Washington, yeah.
that's where you started.
Town presence.
So I know you a little bit of that background, but I wanted it's an interesting aspects of your upbringing there. I know you're a mix, sort of encountered with music, with culture, with race, with all these other aspects, and it's apparent in your music. But I just wanted to see how you could do a quick portrait of that aspect.
Gosh, I think quick. Tacoma, white father, black mother, black music, almost exclusively until my older sister, was in her teenage years when New Wave showed up in the house, and that was what I did, was just as a child steal records from my mom and my sister. And I love my dad, but he had terrible records. Don't nobody want to hear Kenny Rogers. That was that. Just musical household. Everybody was singing. Everybody was having a good time. All the time. We just enjoyed music. Hip hop showed up. My parents tuned out of that. That was all that was about for a long time. Came out of the closet. Yeah. Oh yeah. No.
Oh, you came out of the closet.
Dad came out of. I'm sorry. I'm gay. Came out of the closet when I was 15. Yeah, when you come out of the closet and you're in hip hop culture, at least in the early 90s, you kind of have to get out of hip hop culture. And luckily, Cocteau Twins and My Bloody Valentine were there, and that completely changed my life and my musical leanings. But I was making music my whole life. We had a piano that I would play around with. My uncle was a musician who played guitar when I was really young. parents were super, super supportive. Like I had a 4-track cassette recorder that I made a bunch of beats on. I made a bunch of other songs. Yeah, it's just always been what I do. It's always been my thing.
But then eventually you moved to Seattle.
Then I moved to Seattle, and the music didn't stop. So.
Now, I know that you're a musician, but your reputation in Seattle is as a producer.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people, even when we're as a critic or as a writer, people get really concerned about defining what a producer is and what a, say, an engineer sound. Which you do also as well.
Yeah.
You do sound engineering. And just to give a distinction between those, according to you.
Well, okay, so yeah, the definition of a producer has been tossed around many, many arenas for years. Actually, I've always taken it as the definition that I was taught that it was that the producer of an album, I work in albums, the producer of an album is in charge of the sound of that album. You're in charge of how everything sounds. The finished product is your production. Lately, producer has become synonymous with songwriter. And I find that odd because I feel like you should get your songwriting credit if you have written these songs. But what happened in the 80s and the early 90s with hip-hop becoming mainstream and commodified, you couldn't call yourself a songwriter when you're sampling other artists, which is a really, claiming the title of producer, which was a valid title. Most of the people that were making these beats and recording the vocals and putting them all together were genuinely the producer of these records. But the crossover where songwriter and producer meet, like in the Venn diagram, that's a specific place. It all has validity, and it's all very important. But for me, still, like I work with artists. I like to make music. I want to bring music to the world, and I work on projects that I love and people that make amazing music. And I'm not going to take credit for songwriting with them. I'm going to take credit for writing their songs. And even the hip hop stuff that I do, it's music made by these artists. Like Shabazz Palaces makes the most beautiful music.
Oh, by the way, yes, he's produced Shabazz Palaces, all the records. I actually think he deserves enormous credit for that, and I actually think that you're pretty much part of that. I mean, I don't know.
I feel like I am.
Yeah.
Well, Black Constellation.
Black yeah. See this show happening to the fly right now. You want to know more Black Constellation, you know. But yeah, but then this is production and sound.
Yeah. I like to be involved in all of it. Like I can't. It's hard for me to not be immersed in the entire project. Like I'll happily mix your work, but I'm looking for work too. Once I'm mixed, I will nail it. But I like to be involved from the beginning, because I hear music a certain way, and I have the ability to translate that to a medium. For that, I'm extremely grateful, and I want to keep on doing it. So let's do it. That's nice.
And I know that your background though is engineering. Right?
Yeah.
Your training is as an engineer.
Yeah.
What does that mean? And tell me, what does that mean? I mean, I'm just curious. Like, what does it mean to be an engineer? Some type of build or something?
It kind of is. I mean, I know where to put microphones, and I know what microphones to use, and I don't know. My greatest skill is I know how to make things sound good with the bare minimums of things. Like I learned to do it in a bedroom with one microphone, and then I didn't want to go to college because I didn't know what I wanted to study, but my parents were like, "You're going to college." So I went to the Art Institute to study audio production, where I learned all kinds of stuff, like about really expensive things, that I'll never have, and how to use them. And yeah, and from that I learned how to make stuff from this. Like, I can say, oh, I can make really good guitar tones with this. But yeah, like you build things. You create sound with a space and a source, and commit it to a medium.
And so right now, I know that you've got a new studio that you opened up in your building.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
Can you tell us about that studio?
So
I went there. It's a cave.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful. It's primal.
You made this sound nasty.
No. The carpet of that place.
I cannot take credit for the carpet. I can't take credit for anything aesthetic going on in it. I'm responsible for the shape of the walls and the gear that's inside of it.
That's right.
And like, any sort of sound treatment, but everything aesthetic, that's Ish. Like when you're working with Ishmael Butler, you just say yes when he says that this should look like this. Have you seen that, man? It's beautiful. Everything around him is beautiful.
Sunglasses,
But come on, man.
right?
So yeah, it's black walls, leopard carpet. Is that weird?
Let's have the second clip, the music, and then we'll go to the second part of the conversation.
When you go home, is there someone who wants to know how far those days go? When you go home,
and it's a track, but it's from the album Touchscreens, which was released in 2013. And I must say that this is an album I listened to out of sheer pleasure. I mean, if you're somebody who lives in Seattle, you sort of have to listen to bands out of obligation, right? Because you have to support the 206. You have to buy the record. I mean, I buy
I have a very different opinion about that.
I buy lots of records just to be supported, right? But I never listen to them again. Right? I do that. I know you people do that too. If you're a real 206 person. But this record I actually listened to, and I play all the fucking time. And I listen to it because its melodies are caught in my head, and I'm really happy to know somebody outside of the, Fleetwood Mac or something like that, who's fixed a lot of SOS Band, who's fixed songs in my memory. Like I play them when I'm showering and so on. And this is a really a big deal. So if you haven't read this album, please do. It is that exactly. Again, I mean, track after track. And I wanted to talk to you about what in particular this particular song of this tune is what I noticed so about your work in general is that you sort of have a really good sense of measuring between dissonance and rawness. If that makes any sense.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. I'll stop saying that. I mean, the intellectual version. You make me want to dance, and then you make me want to be sad.
The sad dance is the best dance. I have some sad dancers.
But you get what I mean. I mean, what I mean, you're very, like I said, you really go for two sort of things. And I want to know, just give me a sense of, at least from your point of view, what is your aesthetic? What is your aesthetic? Oh, by the way, he does solo work as well as production work. After you make that work. So he's done production work with Bad Palaces. And Satisfaction, he has his own band. He does his own music. And this is a part of his own.
Thank you for the kind words, first of all. But I think my aesthetic is constantly changing and evolving. Like it's always something new, hopefully. But yeah, I mean, we're all kind of an amalgam of everything we take in, and the more we take something in, the more present it is in your work. So, my devoting my life to music, any few years span is gonna produce a different output. That's just wherever I'm at. Like for Touchscreens, like when I was doing that, we were working on Blackout, and I was just doing my thing. I was listening to My Bloody Valentine. I was listening to whatever. I was just doing my thing and writing songs that I wanted to hear. That's all. I think that's all anybody does. It's like you just make the music that you want to hear. Like the thing that you feel like is missing. That's what an artist does. I'm sorry if that sounds really pretentious, but like we just fill in spaces. Like there's a space for this. I have something that I can contribute to the world that fits in this place, and that's as much as I think about it. Is like, does this sound good? And does this move me in something? And then I put the pieces together and put it out by hook or by crook.
And there's a porn theme in this album.
Yes, yeah.
Tell us about this pornography. Pornography is people having sex.
None of you have seen what we're talking about. You don't know what we're talking about. It's a very, very niche thing. Few people know this, but pornography. You can find it online. It's hard to find.
The filters.
So whatever. I was watching a lot of pornography. I was watching a lot of pornography, but I was watching a lot of like old pornography, a lot lot of stuff in the 70s and 60s, and there was something there that I was just enjoying quite a bit. Yeah, I was enjoying it that way too. But I got into this mode where I was like really interested in how it was made and who was making it and what were their lives like and what was going on. So I kept doing little weird research projects and blah blah blah, and I ended up with all this bullshit knowledge in my head about pornography. And I'm really terrible at lyric writing. Like I don't like doing it. It's tough. It's very tough for me. So at the time I was like, well, I can write a shitload about porn because that's all that I'm thinking about right now. So I did. I did it because I could, and that's that. Like I like it, and I'm cool with what I put out, and I think it's funny and it's interesting if you want to dig into it. Like it's fun to do searches on song titles on Google. Just don't do it at work. But yeah, it was fun.
Don't listen to this album at work. Not safe for
You can listen to it at work. It's totally clean. Like it's a pretty clean record. But
So I
just don't dig in.
We have a few minutes left, and does anybody have a question they'd like to ask? Or I have a couple more, but maybe they'd like to ask. Go ahead. This moment. Yes.
Hi, Eric. As someone who is like lucky enough to have worked with you, like we sort of worked with you in like the very like most minimal way possible, right? Like you've mixed our records before, and I just like sort of wonder, and I think it's like sort of funny that I'm asking you in this context, but like so we sent you raw tracks, right? We just sent you our guitar, our synth, our drums, our bass. And then like, sort of instinctually, like sort of without even like asking us, sort of without even like knowing, like you've managed to like sort of be that like fifth member of our band. And like, I wonder like what is the first thing you hear like when we send you raw tracks like that? Like what is going through your brain when you sort of like, because you add these things that are just like, yes, that's what that needs, and I don't know, it's amazing.
Well, like you guys specifically?
In general, let's break it out to more general.
It's kind of the same answer anyway.
Yeah.
Has anybody heard Wishbeard? I'm asking for no particular reason. No, when I get, it's the same with any project. Like if we work together from the ground up, which we gotta get on. First I hear your music. Like I hear your music, and I may hear it in a way that you don't, or I hear it in a way that you do, and it may not all be there yet, or I hear it in a way that I just hear it, and all I'm doing is giving you what I hear. Like I with everybody that I work with, it's you give me these beautiful colors and these wonderful images, and I'm just kind of texturizing it. I don't know how to put it. Like I don't really know how to say it. I'm giving you back the love letter that you're giving me. Like you're giving me this beautiful stuff, and I'm just trying to give it back to you in as beautiful a way that you presented it to me, the way that I see it.
Note to end on. I like good closing because you could get them wrong the next question. You'll just not remember him so well. So thank you so much.
I'm Emily. just say a quick thank you to all of the Genius nominees. Eric Blood, of course, amazing. Hollow Earth Radio, and Industrial Revolution. I'm genuinely so happy and proud of everybody that is participating this year. I'm super excited, and I hope you all win. That can happen, right? I also wanted to quickly thank the Fry and John Teskey up there for doing so much for us. You're amazing. And thank you to Charles, the co-host, who's actually doing 2 of 3 things. So he's more of a host than I am. But thanks, Charles. So I'm really excited now to talk to Garrett Kelly and Amber Morgan of Hollow Earth Radio. You guys want to come on up? Is this working? Hello. So you founded Hollow Earth Radio. Let's just go right to the history of Hollow Earth Radio. Talk about how it started.
Yeah, so it was like 9 years ago. I was living in this punk house right next to I-5, and we had all these house shows at our house all the time. And people would be on tour, and they'd come to my house and play a show, and like 30 people were there. And at the same time, I was playing this online virtual game called Second Life.
Second
And I thought it'd be kind of funny if I like made my punk house in Second Life and like streamed what was happening into the virtual world. It's totally dorky. So I kind of figured out how to do that. And at the same time, Amber and I were in a band together, and she was working on this other project.
I was working on this project called My Sound Friendship, and at the time, I found someone, just a random person that I didn't know online and on MySpace, and I asked them for their phone number, and they said, could we be sound friends? And that would just involve us calling each other and playing a sound for them and then hanging up. No talking, no getting and they read, and so we did it for like a year, and we called each other like maybe 40 times each, and I kept a note of like all the sounds that we did, and when Garrett and I were talking, we were trying to find a way to collaborate, and we thought, let's make a website where we can pair people up and be sound friends,
And that seemed kind of difficult. So we ended up with a radio station, which is also kind of difficult. So that's kind of how it started, in that same vibe, sharing like sounds that you wouldn't necessarily know where they're coming from, and also like underrepresented music, things, bands that aren't playing with 30 people, like kind of giving them an outlet.
So that's how we started, and we started it in Garrett's basement, and we were broadcasting just 12 hours a day, and the first 6 hours was all like original content, and then we like repeated the same 6 hours. And then we moved it to my basement, and we tried to convince people to get involved and try to explain like what we were doing. And we got about 15 people after a few months to become DJs, and we were kind of noticing this whole house show circuit in Seattle. Like there were all these house shows were getting shut down, and we wanted to archive what was happening in our city on this level, and we also wanted to like do something that felt sustainable, that wouldn't get shut down, that would just be able to sustain through all of this sort of underground music. And so we really worked hard to try to get try to get nonprofit status and tax exempt status and that kind of thing, but also do everything in a really kind of DIY way, and we were like cobbling things together.
Still are college.
You know, like just getting a lot of help from different people in the community.
And you have a real spot.
Yeah,
in
and
Central
then about 3 years in, we decided that we were ready to move it into a new spot.
Yeah, I think for me, the time we decided to move it out of our house was this funk band played in our attic at 10 in the morning on a Sunday. And I was like, no, this is, I like funk music, but this is, I want to sleep in. You know, people would be chomping through our house, and I'd be in my boxers eating cereal, and my DJ would walk through. But it was really awesome having people at our house all the time, just doing weird stuff.
We wanted to extend it beyond like our friend group and friends of friends and friends of friends of friends. We wanted it to even be bigger and to really like dig deeper. And so we moved into the Central District on 20th and Union next to 2020 Cycle. And I think that really like opened up a lot for us. We like learned about the neighborhood and learned about the community was already there, and really trying to like dig deeper than what we had done already. Well, one thing we're doing sound.
Yeah.
So one thing that we played on the radio,
Really early on.
really early on were field recordings, and then we would also collect answering machine tapes that we would find at thrift stores, and we would like listen to the answering machine tapes and find like really good nuggets and like edit them and edit out like incriminating information, and we'd air it on the radio. And we actually made a found sound album of.
There's a really good one that's kind of timely. It's actually an hour and a half. It's a church voting out their pastor. It's really amazing. It's really good. It's also, I don't know, it's very, this clip that we're going to play actually is just a short thing. It's actually part of a trilogy. It's kind of the feeling, we don't know who these people are, but the feeling of this one, I think, is, the kind of neighbor who has lots of like fruit in his yard that he wants to keep giving you.
So this is kind of like the sample of the sound that we would be playing on the radio.
Are you there? I see. Where are you? Hey, hello, how? I want to leave at 2:00. If you like to have something to eat, drop by, check the refrigerator, ready. If you want to take as many baklava as you want, take most of them that I leave behind. Take half glass. I leave lots of baklava. Bye.
That was sound one. The rest of the trilogy is really great.
Yeah, because sometimes people would pick up the phone and the entire conversation, they forgot to turn the answering machine off. So there's a whole conversation that's happening. It's amazing.
And we felt like Hollow Earth Radio was a place for people to experiment with their own projects and see if things work. Try it out, and like sometimes it flops and sometimes it's really amazing. And sometimes DJs air their first date on the radio, or they call Craigslist.
It's almost calling Craigslist and like saying like, can you tell me more about this rain stick that you're selling?
Somebody recorded themselves getting their tooth extracted and things like that. And what else? We also did a radio show in the basement of Bob Street Records back when it was next to the tractor, and we would just pre-record the show, and we would just find random records in the basement and play them, and if they sucked, we just stopped in the middle of the song, and we didn't edit it, we just kept that in the show. Like, oh, that sucked, okay. So we were just like experimenting with different ways of entertaining.
Yeah, there's a really cool show at the radio called Central Sounds. It's about music from the Central District. And that show has OC Notes makes beats, and they make food, and like clam chowder,
Vegan hot dogs.
Yeah, and they, people just come up and like freestyle on air, and it's all kind of loose. And one time I tuned in, it was OC Notes and Lori Goldstein playing cello. It was super weird. And then out of that, a really cool show that came out was this just someone who came to some of the shows. He's been in prison his whole life, kind of get in and out. So he did a show all about prison life, and even there was one point he got put back into custody, and he did the show. It's called The Yard. He did it from a payphone in custody, and he actually had Rich told him what songs to play next. So like it's a lot of like people just experimenting their first time trying things out, and we're totally open to whatever people want to do, totally free form, and tell people what songs they have to play.
So one of my favorite ones that Garrett told me about, I think, when I interviewed you for this, was called Diving for Eric.
Diving for Alex.
Or Diving for Alex, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, from a person named Eric. Do you want to explain? We're going to listen to it next.
Yeah. So Eric, he's in the audience today. He wanted his amp.
It's you.
He wanted his amp fixed by Alex, who owns 2020 Cycle. He also fixes amps. And so he Facebooked him and said, "Hey, can you fix my amp?" And Alex said, "Oh yeah, just call me and we can talk about it." But Eric didn't have his number, so Eric decided to call every phone number in the 206 area code and ask for Alex and say, "Hey Alex, you gotta fix my amp?" And it's just all these people. He made up like 5 podcasts that are all an hour long. And if it was an answering machine, he would just play like screeching violin and had his like 14-year-old daughter play drums. It was really amazing. The other thing about it is it's kind of a prank thing. You can think of it that way, but the way he interacts with people, it's not, it's just these awkward moments. It's not, it's not making fun of anyone. It's just like this kind of strange human encounters, which I think is really what we're all about.
And this particular clip, the guy just sort of goes along with it.
Yeah, it seems like he,
no idea.
wait, did I promise this guy to fix his amp? I guess.
So we're going to listen to that one, and then we're going to listen to Shayna Cleveland from The Blues.
Yeah, Shayna Cleveland was in the band The Lose. She was a DJ for a long time, and it's just her being a DJ, and you can kind of get the feel. Someone once said the radio sounds like people hanging out in your living room, and you can kind of get a sense of what it's like, or kind of tune in.
Hey, Alex, how you doing? So, I got the idea here. So, I want to. Oh, okay. Oh, I think the answer machine's going on.
Yeah, right. Let me see what I can do. Maybe you might need to call back, okay?
Okay, I'll call right back here.
Hello.
Alex, so yeah, I had an idea here, like when we were going to get together and fix my amp. I thought about it. I wanted to ask, do you have the parts? Or I was looking online. I can get a kit. It looks like it'd be about $100. Do you think it's worth it? Should I get the kit first before we do the work, or?
What's the kit? What's going on?
Oh, the filter caps for my amp, and we're gonna change those out.
Really?
Oh, okay. So I should get the kit.
Yeah, I haven't had any of that stuff for a long time now.
Okay, so I'll get the kit
Everything's
first.
changed. Okay.
Yeah, I'll get the kit first, and then we'll talk. Hey, while I got your phone, for kicks, do you want to try win a couple bucks off me to answer a trivia question, right?
What question?
It's just a trivia question. It relates to American history. It's for ages 9 and up. If you get the question right, I'll give you $2.
Oh, I don't know. I don't need it. Okay. No, I don't know. It's sort of blown my fun out, but it's all stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, you probably would have gotten me right. I probably would have given you $2. Sounds like you're a pretty smart guy.
Yeah, okay. Great.
Okay, well, you have a good night.
Give me half more.
Okay. Let's see it.
Hello, this is DJ Carla Cleveland.
Oh, hey, it's Jenny.
Wait, what's going on?
I'm just looking at Amazon podcast.
Hey Jenny, hey Jenny, how's it going?
Good.
I just turned my mic on.
Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, so what do you think about Heart? Have you, do you like Heart?
I don't know. I don't know part.
Oh, really? You know Magic Man? Or Crazy on You?
Crazy on you. Crazy on you. Let me go crazy, crazy on you.
You know that one?
Try to understand.
Very cool. So we have a lot of things to cover. The next thing I wanted to talk about was the Seaport Beat documentary, an 8-part history of independent music in the Pacific Northwest. Do you guys want to talk about that?
Yeah, so we got a grant from the Humanities of Washington to do this 8-part documentary series about the independent music legacy. And they were all like volunteer producers to make these episodes, and they're a really unique take on the music history, and some of the episodes were about home recording. They were about music from the 80s in the Northwest, but not about grunge. Actually, it was more about the Olympia music scene, and there were episodes about artistic practice.
There's ones about the 60s, 50s, 60s era stuff.
About the Show-Off Gallery in Bellingham, which is sort of a warehouse venue that was really popular. And then sort of the social practices of the music community in the Northwest. And this clip we're about to play.
This is a clip with Jean Smith from the band Mecca Normal, and she's talking about she came from Vancouver, where it's kind of this anarchist punk scene where people were like fighting and blowing up stuff for political reasons. And when she came to Olympia, and no one really liked their band there. And she thought she was part of this punk scene, and she went to Olympia.
And this is her talking about Olympia.
Yeah.
No one was particularly interested in what we did. We cleared rooms very successfully in Vancouver. We were not regarded as of any interest or importance, sort of interest. But we also recognized, I think many years later, that the negativity that we were received with is as much fuel to us as a great positive response, you know. I mean, we've had that all along, and that's been a great leveler for us. You know, we're not really looking to be loved and have our music, you know, everybody's favorite. To us, we were quite astounded by the activities activities that were going on in Olympia. And the Olympia fairy book, fairy tale.
Tell me about that term. I don't.
The fairy tales?
Yeah, tell me about what we saw and how. Yeah.
It's a contrast because David and I mean, we had people in our milieu who were blowing things up. You know, that's how people up here were dealing with their problems, and it was intense. You know, there was a sensibility of mosh pits and crashing around, and drunken behavior, let's say, was included. So when we got to Olympia, and things were very much oriented around hanging on to youth. And when I say youth, I mean like 5 to 8. What is this? What the hell? Very nice people, but everybody's got their marshmallow stick over their shoulder. And their swimming trunks and their lunch kit, and they're going off for, you know, a camp out, right? And sing some songs and bang on some stuff, and then they'll trade instruments around, and it's like, this wasn't what we were used to, and it was disorienting, but we were treated with a large amount of respect, and we were included, and we were shown different sites and introduced to interesting people, and it was extremely important to us in making us feel like we were valued.
I highly suggest that you check out all 8 of the series of the Seaport Beat. It's pretty fascinating. So the next thing that we will move on to is Hollow Earth puts on a month-long festival called Magma Festival every single year, or a whole month. And they've never booked the same act twice. It can include anything from hip-hop, hardcore, garage, pop, classical, outsider, old, young, underground, more underground. I wanted to talk to you guys about that.
Well, we started Magma Festival because we were, in the first year, we were just paying for everything ourselves, and it was like this hobby that we were doing, and then we were like, wow, maybe we need to buy some computers, not more money. And so we drew this month-long festival of bands who were largely our friends, said they would play, and it was sort of a benefit for us, so that we would have a little cash to fund, you know, microphones and stands and things like that. And then it sort of turned into this thing that we did every year. It became like a service and like a survey of what we offer on air. And that's a really neat sample where people in Seattle can come to shows all around the city and really interesting venues to see bands play live. And it sounds like what we are airing on the radio. And so now we've done it for 8 years. This will be our 8th year.
Yeah. What were some of the venues that you did it?
Well,
like the chapel and all the kind of alternative underground places. We've done it on the light rail. We'll show a video of that.
we did it at this like mansion that was like a bed and breakfast, and they just let us do a show there in Capitol Hill. We did like warehouses that were like only open for a year or something, and we would try to do shows there. Art galleries, and the light rail is definitely the.
So we're gonna watch a video of that. How was that formatted, or how did you pull that off exactly?
I don't know how we pulled that off. We did a lot of work on that. We came up with this idea together that we thought it would be neat to have a show on the light rail, and we were like, well, let's see how we can do this. So I contacted Sound Transit, and they were kind of interested, and they worked with me, and we had like 17 bands and 50 performers, and I mean, it was a lot of like, they wanted to know every single detail about it, and I don't think they would ever let us do it like that again, but they were really great to work with, actually. And we started in the International District and went all the way to the airport, and then all the way back. So a different band was getting on at each stop all the way to the airport, and then all the way back.
Yeah, like people were just riding the train and all of a sudden like a marching band.
But then, you know, we advertised it as a show, so then like, you know, 400 people showed up, and plus the people who were just already riding the light rail, and it was really wild, and probably the most memorable thing that we've done, and I felt it was really great.
We're going to watch a clip of that, and then right after that, we're going to watch one more clip that is about Jan Terry.
Yeah.
So we should probably talk about Jan Terry.
Okay. So Jan Terry, I found, well, I want to say some other people that we had, but we've had a 3-year-old play drums at a show. We had the band that's Grown Ups, who were a grunge band from the 80s. It's Mark Arm and Steve Turner from Mudhoney. They're like improv grunge band that hadn't played in forever. We have lots of different ages, and it's all ages, so I wanted to mention those things. But Jan Terry, so I found Jan Terry, I was searching YouTube, and I searched worst music video ever. And that's how I found her. And this video has like 3.5 million views, and I was just blown away by it. And you know, she makes these kind of kooky videos, and
you really liked it.
I really loved it. I really loved it. I mean, at first you're just like, what is this? But then, I mean, I listened to that music constantly. I love it so much. And she's just really, what I like about her is that she does it all by herself, and she's very just confident about what she's doing, and totally just a rock star. So,
and we feel like Jan Terry is an example of like what we air on the radio all the time. We're trying to find really super underground artists to play, and
that maybe don't have like a mainstream appeal, but are just doing their own art in their own way. So yeah, I searched for like 3 years to try to find her, and eventually I contacted her and I said, hey, do you want to come out and play? And we had the band Heat Warmer, who were amazing, learn all her songs, and she flew out. She was so sweet. She stayed at our house, and she played the show, and it's really great. I love it. People were like crowd surfing to her. She was so excited, I think. So yeah.
So we're going to watch the light rail video and then the Jan Terry video.
Patrol these waters. Sharks patrol these waters. Don't let your fingers dangle in the water. Stuff.
are familiar with Jan's work. She's a big hero of mine. I don't know how many of us can say we've put out, approaching over 3 full albums of songs, plus how many videos? A lot of amazing videos. Yeah, so it's something to look up to. So it's my great honor to introduce the one, the only, Jan Terry. Thank you. My heart is open like an open book, and yours is closed. I never thought it would be like this, so how do we dream on? I don't wanna lose you tonight. You're the only thing that matters. I don't wanna lose you this way. Just need your love.
So we're going to wrap up in a second, but we did want to mention that Hollow Earth is looking to get an actual spot on the dial. They don't have one right now. It sounds like that's sort of a more complicated process than anybody knew.
Yeah, it's really complicated. There probably will be, I think, 8 to 12 new stations in Seattle, which is really exciting. There's a new window that opens, so we applied for that. We're still waiting to hear back. Yeah. That's all I really know about that. It's kind of a thing. Yeah. Oh, and also, I just want to say real quick that everyone is all volunteer at the station, and there's tons of volunteers, not just Amber and I. Tons of volunteers helping.
100.
Yeah. There's so many people who have helped us throughout the years, so it's not just Amber and I. It's all.
We would like to open it up to the audience questions. You.
Is there any way we, as listeners, can get you on that route? Like anyone we can contact, or?
No, it's kind of in the FCC's hands and just old antiquated systems and how that works.
I mean, you could protest or something.
I don't think so.
Yeah. How do people volunteer for Hollow Radio?
We have an orientation at the first Sunday of every month at the station. Yeah, it's really easy. It's just kind of informal. But we kind of, one thing we like to talk about is the station. You kind of can use it as your umbrella, your nonprofit umbrella, to do whatever crazy thing you want to do. If you have a crazy idea, you kind of use that to go for it. You can learn how to do sound, like really basic sound, and throw shows, and all kinds of stuff. We're always looking for help.
Anyone else? Anyone else? All right, thank you so much.
Start with the hello again. We're going to do industrial relations now. It's a band that I'm really, I have a lot of really exciting things to talk about. In fact, goodness gracious, if I can say that I had not anticipated that I would find myself talking about a band of this character with great affection. This is true. I had no idea. I mean, it came out of left field for me, and to hear the music and to hear the directions and the things they're experimenting with was completely unexpected. And I will just, the first thing I'm going to start with is something that will not shock you. And I thought we should just listen to a piece of music, and then we'll have them on the stage afterwards, and then we'll start the conversation. And so let's just start. It's a color column, and there's a couple of things, but let's just listen to it, and then if you don't know who they are, it'll be a great introduction to how it was not a good choice for me to begin with this.
For me, it's a extension of what's happened before. The educated taught the uneducated how to read, and the uneducated taught the ones how to read, how to improvise. I don't know. I don't know what it's going to do because it's changed. Music has changed. I want an abundance. You know, I would like to just teach as many kids as I could. But anybody that's I mean, anything that they've done, that they've worked at, I mean, really, really put their soul into, got up every day and strive to do that, I really admire that.
we do an impersonation of him. Oh, that's right, there's 3 seats. Sorry, I was doing good at math. And so yeah. I want to begin by just naming the musicians here. Want to introduce yourselves?
I'm Josh Rawlings. I play the keys in the group, Fender Rhodes and whatnot.
I'm Ahmed Flay, Phil Guru. I play trumpet and sometimes other things, mostly trumpet.
I'm Vaughn Lewis, drums.
And so I have to say, is busy, he's a bassist. And I want to begin by, because I did actually pick that piece of music on purpose. And I know it's not exactly typical, but it is like what I love about it so much is that you guys are showing your chops as jazz musicians. Right? It's like, I know that you guys sort of explore and you do all this stuff with it, but here you're just doing jazz.
Yeah.
Right. And I was like, so you open that track. Who's speaking at the opening of that track?
That's Hadley Calaman, who there's probably not very many people in this audience that know who Hadley Calaman is, but he's a jazz legend. And he's from the Bay Area. He studied with Dexter Gordon. He's just one of the most amazing musicians whose career was kind of cut short through drug addiction and prison time. And but it just so happened that he moved to Seattle, and that at one point in time, all 4 of us in the band either studied with him or played with him or had an amazing musical, spiritual experience with him. And then he passed away a couple years ago, right before we were making this album. And I think part of Josh wrote that song, and I think part of the mentality going into that song is like, what would Hadley really like? Like, what tune would he really like? And I felt like we were in a unique position to like actually execute that thing. So the song is called Color for Calaman, and it's for Hadley Calaman. And you should say something.
Just, I guess, that was a beautiful introduction. I'm very honored that the guys were like down to record it, because we were trying to record this album, Oakhead, that's our latest album, in a different way. We were kind of used to recording live and often very long songs. Our very first album was a single that consists of one song that lasts for like 23 minutes. A very like fusion jazz.
Hence why you've never heard of us.
Not radio friendly. So we wanted to make an album that was kind of like an attempt to be some digestible music that could, like, you know, for the people, right? We have another teacher who plays trombone. Ham and I went to Cornish together for a period of time, and Julian Priester and Hadley Calaman were kind of like the staple figures there, and they really made an impression on it. So I wrote that song just before Hadley retired from Cornish as just an homage, a portrait piece for him. And he was living in Bainbridge Island at the time and commuting by ferry boat over to Seattle to teach at Cornish. And he was known for making kids cry in class. He's from another time where he's just like, I'm not going to deal with this bullshit.
What I'm going to say real quick, anyone is I was studying with Hadley, and we were about to go on stage at Cornish, and there was a guitar player who was really good, but he like didn't really like listen to direction, and like Hadley had a lot of problems with him, and like we were about to go on stage, and we're all walking out, and as we're walking out, that guitar player is about to pass by Hadley, and Hadley just stops and goes, hold on 1 second. I just want you to remember, you are a white pretty boy that can't play shit. Just I want you to remember that when you go on stage.
So this is the Gary character that he was. So I wrote that piece. God, it's such like it's a beautiful ballad, and it's like you can hear him just a pretty boy. He rode the ferry, and I just imagine like that time, you know, you all hopefully ridden the ferries here, and it's like there's a piece, you know, when you're crossing the water, you're making this transition. And he was making a transition out of school into
retirement and just playing more performances and whatnots. And I just imagine him not being so angry, I guess, and like looking out at the water, reflecting on his life. And, but I also just appreciated the man and what he brought to the music. So I'm sure Devon has some words too. Devon's been playing with, but he played with Hadley for a while, and we all had the privilege of sharing the stage. He was a mentor to all of us, so he really, his spirit is on
The real deal, man.
is on the record. He was a musician to musician, but he was also just an incredible talent that you'd never guess. Like, he played with the Grateful Dead and Santana. There's stories for days and days and days, throwing beads against the wall and writing blank checks for $1 million and shit like that. But this
Every
is
story ends, but they were just some white guys that couldn't play shit. That's all every story ends. They had a driveway 1 million miles long. They had an oven with a light in it. Basic household appliances. They had 2 microwaves. Just a white boy that couldn't play shit. Okay. 4 members.
I didn't pick that up at all. I was so sentimental. I hear some great musicians showing the heart of the jazz musician and all this stuff. Yeah. But Devon, I know Devon, the band began with you, right? Or you're the band leader and you're the drummer. And just give us some background as to like how it came together. How did the Desert Revolution come together? And how is it sort of like distinct from, say, precisely what we just heard just now? That sort of grounded historical jazz, this heaviness.
Well, I started. I was playing around town, with a lot of different musicians, mainly jazz musicians, and I maybe when I was about 14 years old or so, I played with AHA, and Starbucks used to have live music, so I played with him and his group.
When they were real.
It was fun, yeah. But always had a distinct sound that no other trumpet player in Seattle I had never heard. It reminded me of more of a just I don't care attitude, and I love that, And then we kind of over the years, but yeah, we lost contact, and then around that time, I was about 15. I went to jazz in Fort Townsend through Roosevelt High School, and I played a jam session. And Evan Flory Barnes was on bass, playing with Aaron Parks, who's a piano player, and I felt a connection with Evan, and I was always like, oh, this feels good. If I was, a drummer and a bass player supposed to be together, to dance, and so I was always, I loved that, and then, and a couple years later, Josh was at Cornish, and I played a swing dance, actually, and he was the piano player, and with saxophonist named Kevin Buster, and Josh was just, he kind of had the same thing Aham had. He didn't, I heard all kind of different rhythms, soul, pop. He had a swing dance, and I was like, that's the way I want to play drums. So, and then a couple years later after that, I graduated high school and stuff, and still playing around and touring, and I never really had my own band, but I was always, my grandmother had stressed me, you should start your own band or something,
By the way, grandmothers don't always say this. There's a good reason why.
I'm guessing your grandmother's not a Jewish immigrant. You should start your own band.
But, my grandfather, he's Dave Lewis. He was a distinct figure in Seattle jazz in the 50s and 60s. He was one of the first, or was the first African American player to play with white musicians at gigs. And it's, she just stressed to me, you should, So I always, in the back of my head, I always remember these guys, So I was doing a gig actually with Hadley at Tula's, and Aham came down, and just, still sounding great, and I was like, man, don't stop playing, And so from there, we got, I wanted Josh, Evan, from a sound, a feeling, basically, there's a feeling.
But I understand that you guys are sort of, you just sort of put it up earlier on, Josh. You guys sort of were more like thinking about the performance rather than recording. Recording was a later development, is that correct? You guys are more like, this is shock and awe right at the moment, but recording is not in the picture initially.
I think that we had an idea of recording.
Yeah.
But I think that as we started, it was the type of thing that as soon as we started rehearsing and playing, which is a long time ago, but we got a sense that like, oh, this is like a different thing than we normally do. And the first couple of things that we recorded were just like trying to find a way to document that thing. And then I think eventually it came to like taking that band that was such a powerful live band. Like, this is the band that goes and plays for the people. Is like, we're for the people. We're in like us and the crowd are one. And then like we were trying to translate that, and then we were just like, what would it be like if we took those skills and really devoted them to making albums, which is a different art, it's a different thing. And that's kind of a more recent development that we like kind of took that element of what we do as having some it's a little bit separate. Like albums are like a thing that we focused on and we made for the purpose of the album. And then like the songs are different things. So, the last album that we put out, most of the songs are like 4 minutes long, but when we play live, like, we have some 4-minute long songs, but we still have these like 25-minute things that are like it's about live performance when we're playing live. It's not about representing the album. It's not representing, and like we've found some separation in those two items.
By the way, if you haven't got a copy of OK, I don't want to ever talk to you again. My friend, and because it's such a great album. I mean, really, it is. It's from top to bottom. I think I have like 5 records locally that I listen to regularly, and this is one of the ones. And again, it's a remarkable piece of work. And this is it's your second sort of studio album,
yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah. And so I wanted to just say, here's one thing that if you listen to the whole record, and I'm sorry to bring this up, because in a sense critics have to say the most boring thing, but I mean, what would you call your music, right? I mean, what is it? I mean, exactly, how do you describe what you're doing? I mean, it is. I mean, I know it's jazz, but it's not really jazz. It's something else.
It's jazz that isn't made for old white people. You know what I mean?
I wish you told me that.
I mean, people like play to their demographic, and like if you go to a jazz club, you're like, oh, this is the demographic, and that explains why jazz is on a horrible decline. We didn't want to play to audiences that bought like $30 frozen burgers at a jazz club and paid $7 for Coca-Colas. Like, we wanted to play for people that paid $5 to get in, or they just like lick their stamp and then like put it on their phone and get in. Like, those are the shows we wanted to play.
Yeah, that's part of it too. But it wasn't, I don't think it was a conscious thing, you know, it's just, you know, play what we feel, or whoever. For me, personally, you know, just play what we feel for anyone, because a lot of those older white people.
They're very nice. If there's any of them here,
They love
very
the
nice.
shows, and so, you know, but, I mean, it's
that song is stuck in my head. I said, that was the idea. And we said it so demonically. I never forget, you know, because like, but just to go into Oakhead, I mean, the whole, how did you guys put it together? Who was writing, who was playing, where was it recorded? Give us this background of this record.
So we've been talking about doing a more like focused studio album for a while, and my partner had a cabin that is her family cabin, and we had access to that. So we thought, what would it be like to go out to a cabin and record an album? Because all like we're such a live focused band, like we're so focused on playing live that historically album making has been like a little bit more of an afterthought. This was like, what if we go away and just focus on that? So we went to this cabin, and so we had a combination of about half songs that were, and this was intentional, half songs that were like pretty fully formed, then half songs that were just basic sketches, and like trying to make a cohesive album out of those two things. Because I've always felt like what you want with an album, you want refined ideas and you want simulated spontaneity. You want those two things. So personally, I was really focused on like achieving those two things. So a lot of the album is our most produced album. But when I say our most produced, like we were still all in the same room playing together when we recorded it. And there's a couple overdubs, and that's why it's our most produced. But it's really still like the essence of what we do live. And there's a lot of like, we were really focused on making the right kind of mistakes, and like letting those come out and letting those be part of what we did, and just really like settling into our environment and cabin, and like and making this thing that was just perfect but not, and I feel like we did the best job that we could at that thing.
And the composition, who was composing?
All of us.
All of
Yeah,
us.
all of
So
us.
they're all original songs, right?
Yeah.
We talked about it. And then in terms, I know that everyone's not here. How do you guys sort of like, I sort of imagining is, I'm always taken by the fact that you're pointing at the jazz and the bass and the drum are the grounding. I'm trying to figure out how this unit, works in terms of like a group. Is this just completely democratic, or do you guys, is someone leading, or is there a nut? Is there a core? Such an abstract.
I feel we all approach the music with.
I feel like what you're saying is, are we all really here?
Yeah, no.
Do we really exist?
I want to know who the fucking leader is. Or is it just completely just democratic? I'm always fascinated. I'm trying to figure out when you play, I don't actually get anybody leading.
So the actual process, I think, of putting the song together, there is like a sketch brought forth by Aham or Evan or myself, and Devon has a shadowboxing on that album, and he has some new music. We all bring the music in a unique way that kind of is just, either thinking about the group, or we have this idea like, oh, it could be good for the group, but we adapt. We just adapt it, and it's a hard thing to kind of explain, like how you describe the interplay that's really going on. There's a bond going on where no matter what we do live or in the studio, we want to make the highest music possible, and we have each other's backs. And it's something that I've never felt in any other group like that. There's an energy there to where if you go way out somewhere, you just know that the rest of the group has a foundation they want you to go explore. And I was going to mention earlier with your question of like how do you describe the music? And to me, it's a continuation of the spirit of where this music was born. You know, the essence of all music, really. And something that we all deeply connect with is the fact that we want to play music as if it's the last note we'll ever play ever. You know, like every gig, every note we play, it's just like we're pouring everything into it. And we're not doing it as an individual, we're doing it as a group. And that's where the industrial strength comes from. And the revelation is in the release. It's in the release of us just playing to our heart's content and can't even believe that we can fucking just like make this music. We're like in this ecstasy, like just on stage, like, how the fuck did we do that? So that's how I understand
I want to wrap up right now. Is there any questions on the floor? Oh, so there is, right away. Go ahead.
2 parts. First, what are your favorite venues to play around town? And then also, when you go to those old white man jazz clubs, do they like come up to you and request Gershwin tunes? And how do you deal with that?
We will answer that question semi-honestly. I personally really like, venue-wise, I like lo-fi a lot. I've had a long history with that venue. We played a great show at Hollywood Radio, and we had a great pack show that was just one of the most fucking punk rock great experiences at that venue. I like playing Comet before. It's so great. And it's just a lot. I mean, we've been a band for about 9 years, you know.
That's
so
right. 2007, right?
2006.
Yeah. 6.
Oh. So I mean, we at 9 years, you basically have like mediocre relations with every venue. I mean, because you'd be like, oh man, I had the greatest show at this place, but then you go back there and it's never the same. So it's like we have. I feel like we have strong relationships with Seattle's a great place. I recently was in Wichita, Kansas for a week, and I always like when I travel, I like to play at other shows. I like to sit in, you know. And I went to Wichita, Kansas for a week, and I was like, what shows can I sit in? And there were literally no music shows happening in Wichita, Kansas for a week. There just weren't shows. Like, they weren't happening. And, like, the night here, there was just a show about people talking about shows.
That's a good place to close. Can anybody improve on that?
Devo, you want to answer the second part?
About the you know, we in a way, you know, we have our kind of our own style of playing those jazz standards, you know. So, you know, we'll play it, you know, we'll do our thing with it.
We can do
and
it.
that's what people appreciate about it, you know. And
We have a trumpet dentures. All right, let's close that. Thank you, everybody. I want to say something really quickly. I overheard this earlier on, but actually on October 4th, is that right? Eric Glunt and Industrial Relation are getting together with Hollow Earth to do a show. Yeah. Gotta listen to because
one last thing, I'm a horribly jealous person.
Yes.
And I would feel terrible about most nominees being picked except for this group of people.
Well, this is a competition we can take to vetoes, by the way. You got it on your map. Meet us there. We're going to go to drink some more. Thank you for coming tonight. You're wonderful. And God bless you if you believe in God.